Hello, welcome everybody to Carly's IEP. I am Miss Roberts. I am the special education teacher, and I'm going to let everyone else introduce themselves. We have Mr. Herard, our K-12 special education coordinator. We have Jessie Lauka, our OT. We have Mom. So here, we're here today for the annual IEP for Carly. So we're just kind of reviewing her current reviewing her IEP and making any changes that we need to along the way. So some of our meeting norms that we want to talk about is just to make sure that everyone is listening and taking everyone's feedback into consideration and making sure we're going and listening to everyone's concerns. Because at the end of the day, we're all here for Carly. She is all of our number one priorities, and we all want to do what's best for her. So that goes right into, with that, we do want to talk about kind of how she's been doing on her current IEP. She is making some progress on her current goals. And then, so let's just go over her PLAF. So in reading, she did take the NWEA this year, in the spring, and then she took it again this fall. She had a growth percentage from her spring to the fall of 63% in math and 19% in reading. She's performing in the first percentile in both tests, but it should be noted that Carly actually takes the K2 NWEA even though she is in 7th grade. That's just more at her level. So her scores indicate that she's performing at a beginning to mid kindergarten level, which is an increase from the pre-K level she was at last year. So she has made progress in that regards. She is able to decode about 15 out of 30 mixed CVC words. She's able to decode short A vowel sounds with about 90% accuracy. But she does struggle with the short O, U, and I and E sounds, according to our assessments that we kind of give daily to her when she's in our resource room. She does need the maximum verbal cues on those vowel sounds and those verbal cues are usually, I will say the word 2 to 3 times for her, and then her repeating that word with the vowels O, E, I, O, U, I, and E in it. She's only able to decode those with about 50%. She is able to decode beginning blends with between 0 and 15% accuracy, and she's reading long vowel sounds with 0 to 5% accuracy. She struggles with the letters B and D and mixes them up and will say like the opposite sounds. So if she sees a B, she'll think it's a D. Or if I'm asking her to write, and if it's the words like dog, a lot of times she'll write B at the beginning and then a D at the end, or she mixes them up and she mixes the sounds up. So she still is reversing those two a lot. So she does this about 90% of the time that she encounters a B or a D word. As for her reading comprehension, she is able to tell you basic story elements, like who the main idea was and where the setting is, when the K to 1st grade level text is read to her, with about 70% accuracy when again given verbal cues. So we're kind of ready to move on to like more who, what, where, when, and why questions when reading comprehension scores, when reading comprehension. In writing, she is able to copy sentences very well, but those sentences have no meaning for her. So all she's doing is essentially just writing the letters that she sees, but she doesn't know what those words are, what those letters are, what any of that means. So she is unable to write a sentence without a visual. She does not understand basic structure sentence structure, like capitalizing at the beginning, punctuation, parts of speech. She is able to write a simple sentence like "the cat is fat" with 80% accuracy, but she requires you to say each word independently and sound out each sound in the words. She will not capitalize the first letter of a sentence and needs a verbal cue of what comes at the end of the sentence 100% of the time. In math, she took the NWEA, and again, it was a 63% growth from the spring to the fall. In the resource room, she's been working on counting, writing her numbers, addition and subtraction within 10. She can write her numbers 1 through 15 with 95% accuracy with no visual. Numbers 15 through 30 she does with about 60% accuracy. She'll reverse number order. For example, like if the number is 31, she'll write 1-3. She does this about 80% of the time and needs to be given verbal cues to fix it. With addition and subtraction within 10, she uses manipulatives to do this. She often miscounts the counters and in turn will get the wrong answer. She can independently solve addition and subtraction problems within 10 with about 50% accuracy. With assistance, she is able to give them with about 70%. Again, she'll mix up addition and subtraction if she is given a mixture of them at the same time. She'll add every problem. There was even one assignment that we have here that you can see where we did the first row together and we went through, this is subtraction, this is addition. When I sent her on her own to do it independently, she actually erased the whole line that we did together and added everything. So I'm not sure if it was just her just being independent and stubborn and wanting to do things her way, or if she really thought that she did all of those wrong even though we did them together. So, moving on, we do want to talk about, so these are some of her education needs. So she does receive social work services for behavior. So she does get behavior intervention and supports. She does have a one-on-one for that, for her behavior. So for her current goals, for her basic reading, by the end of the year, so by October of 2025, we want Carly to be able to decode and blend a list of 50 words, focusing primarily on the short vowel sounds E, I, O, and U, CVC, and CCVC words. So those are like our beginning blends. Using phonics rules with 70% accuracy is measured quarterly by observations, informal assessments, and reading samples. Her progress will be monitored and recorded on quarterly progress reports. So currently she's able to do this with between 40 and 50%. We want her to go up to 70%, so an increase of about 20 to 30% accuracy. For the area of reading comprehension, she will be, when having a story read to her, she will be able to use details from the story to answer simple who, what, when, or where, and how questions and make predictions about the text with 70% accuracy and 4 out of 5 trials as measured quarterly by work samples and informal assessments. It is also should be noted that she is working on essential elements. So this just means that instead of a common core state standard, she is working at an essential element, which is actually putting her at a path of being a certificate of completion, given that she is functioning so much lower than grade level and she is not able to do any grade level. So for math, by October of 2025, when given 10 addition and 10 subtraction problems within 10, Carly will be able to independently solve the problems with the use of counters with 80% accuracy with 2 or less verbal cues. So that just means that just means that right now she's able to do it with 70% accuracy, and we would like with assistance, with a lot of like hand over hand kind of sitting with her, me counting them out. So we'd like to, by the end of the year, be to where she can do that kind of stuff independently without so much assistance from the teacher. So for her accommodations, all of her assignments are going to be read aloud to her, and that's going to be in all of her gen ed classes. She'll get small group instruction. She does get a one-on-one parapro, and her assignment should be reduced by 50%. And then when testing for district and state tests, she should have no more than 5 students in her group. So for modifications, again, she does have a personalized curriculum, so her lessons should be at her instructional level following the essential elements. And then she also takes an alternate state assessment, so she'll take the My Access instead of the regular state test. So for her, she doesn't need an extended school year. Oh gosh. And, well, when I started this video, you were quiet. When I started this recording, you were quiet. So for her least restrictive environment, she is in the general education classroom at least 80% of the time. But she does get pulled out for resource room 8 to 10 hours a week. And then she'll continue to get occupational therapy, 20 to 30 minutes, 3 to 4 times a month. She'll receive social work services, as well as speech and language. And then she also gets a one-on-one para that will follow her in all her settings in all of her classes. So she is able to participate in all of her classes with her same age peers. She does need her one-on-one to participate because she is known to walk off and kind of wander without telling anybody. So for that reason, she should have her one-on-one just for her safety. So that was pretty much it for the IEP. I would also allow the parent stopping at the PLAF to ask if they have any questions. The goals, I always stop and ask them if this sounds like doable for them, if they would like to add anything or change anything, if there's something specific that they would like their child to work on. That I ask always periodically as I'm going through the PLAF, the goals, things like that. And so basically I just will always want to open up to the parent to let them have a say, because they know their child best. So they know what their child is also capable of doing and kind of their concerns at home. And so I always just make sure I start the meeting out by asking the parent what concerns they may have. And I also ask them if there's anything at the end, if there's any questions, comments, concerns. I also always give my personal extension number and my email address and always ask them if they need anything, if they have any questions. They're always more than welcome to call me and chat, and we can always get anyone together. Again, should things not be going well, I do always let them know that if at any time she's progressing and meeting all her goals, that we can always amend and add new goals. And I also always let them know that, again, if she's not meeting her goals and she's not thinking, that we can always come back together and amend the meeting and amend her IEP. And yeah, that's how I do a mock IEP. Go over all the data.